tell them. What would you say as if they were in person right now in front of you? Say what you want to say.
Yeah, I would just say, I don't know if you ever, think about me when my birthday comes around, or you ever wonder whatever happened with me, how I turned out. Well, here I am. I turned out very well. I think I've been part of a loving family, caring family. I've had a very good life. I have a great daughter. I have no regrets really about anything. And I just want to say thank you for what you did. Who knows what my life would have been otherwise, but it's turned out very well, and I appreciate it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything's Okay, the podcast where we delve into the depths of the human mind and experience and explore the facets of mental health. Today we're continuing our family session segment on the podcast, and I have a very personal and thought-provoking topic to discuss: how the discovery of unknown siblings can profoundly impact our mental health and well-being. Now, finding out about unknown siblings can definitely turn our world upside down. It's a revelation that can stir a whirlwind of emotions, no doubt, from excitement and curiosity to confusion and even a sense of loss sometimes, I would bet. For some individuals, the news of discovering unknown siblings can definitely be a joyful surprise, filling a void they never even knew existed. However, not all encounters with unknown siblings are smooth sailing. The revelation can also trigger a roller coaster of complex emotions all the time. Individuals may grapple with feelings of betrayal, even wondering why they were kept in the dark about the siblings in the first place. Additionally, the news of unknown siblings can disrupt the established family dynamics, potentially leading to strained relationships, conflicts, and more. I mean, existing family members may struggle to find their new loyalty to the newfound siblings, and then how do they deal with that without straining their current family and the relationships there? It's all things that we're going to talk about deep today. And I really don't have any words to describe how excited I am that my guest for today's show is actually one of my discovered unknown siblings, my older brother, Terry, who better to have on the show to discuss this topic, right? Terry, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
Thanks, doing well.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, and people are probably right away going, oh, okay, they look exactly like... That was my reaction too, guys, when I first saw pictures. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm so really, really excited and then extremely nervous to have you on the show today, because this is something I think a lot of people, while what I do for a living is being a filmmaker and hosting these podcasts and being out in the public and doing all, it's a very public persona and it's very out there. But anybody who knows me knows I'm a very private person. I don't put my life out there. I don't talk about it a whole lot. And I have issues sometimes talking about it. And so we've known each other for a few years now. But when I started talking about doing this show, I had so many people who have known me my whole life and friends, and they thought I was kidding at first. They're like, what? No, we've never even heard of this. This is a joke, right? And I was like, no, it's not. And I'm going to put it out there now, and you guys are going to know. And so it's weird for me. I don't know about you, if you're as private as I am, personally, but this podcast has been a great way for me to open up and finally share stories about my life that I have been guarded about. And so, how about you? Are you a private person, or are you uncomfortable just putting this all out there right now?
Private with most people, but
yeah.
My immediate family and aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody knows about it. I was so excited when we found out that told all of them. So
yeah,
the people that matter know.
Yeah.
And the people that I don't, care if they know, I don't make it, pop it out there.
Yeah, so it was no big social media post. Guess what?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was the same way. I was like, I couldn't wait to tell all my family and stuff. But then it was like, oh, and we're going to get into the whole I couldn't wait to tell my family, because that didn't go over so well. We're going to dive into that.
For one of us, anyway.
Yeah, for one of us, exactly. And I mean, But that's going to be the really cool thing, because we have had, kind of like in the intro at the top, two very different experiences of finding each other and how the families reacted to it. And I think that's really important to put out there, because of the fact that it was two different dynamics of how, and continues to be two different dynamics. So we're going to dive deep into that. But I want to kind of give everybody a little background first, because I don't think, like I said, we've known each other for a few years now, but I want to kind of talk and let everybody know how that happened. Like how did it even come about? And my first question for you that I think everybody is kind of interested in is, how early on did you know that you were adopted? And was that something that was very open from your parents on your side? Or was that something that you started to figure out and then were curious and asked? Or how was that?
Well, my mother couldn't have any kids, so she adopted all three of us, myself, my brother, my sister, and she was very open from the time that we were old enough to understand.
Okay.
She let it be known that we were adopted and would answer any kind of questions that, she could. She tried her best, obviously, with sealed records and everything. She didn't have all the answers, but she gave us, whatever she could provide.
Right. Right.
But it was never a big secret with my family.
And so how old were you, about like age wise?
I probably knew from around age 8-ish.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere around there.
So very early on. So pretty much your whole life, you were aware of it. And I mean, that's good, because I feel like sometimes, the families aren't so open and they try to hide it. And that can sometimes be tricky as the kids get older and start to figure it out. I mean, so I'm so glad to hear that was very open for you and a very positive experience to know about it. That's fantastic. And we should say you are a couple of years older than me. So we're talking late 60s that this was going down. So yeah, records were sealed. It's kind of like a whole different ballgame than what it is now. So yeah, I imagine that would be kind of tricky for your mom and dad to go, oh, well, we don't really know. We can tell you what we know, but that's it.
And with an older sister, she was told around the same time. So she knew. And then that might be why I was told, at a little bit of a younger age, because the older siblings already knew. And
right. So, okay. So both your siblings are older than you, both of them?
Yes.
Okay. So even more so. And then, so I guess my next, before we dive into all the fun stuff about how we found each other, I guess my next thing would be just to preface that when you decided that you were going to do this, and we'll talk about like what your goals were behind trying to do that. But I guess my first question is when that you found out that other siblings did exist and that you had blood siblings, what was the reaction from your adoptive siblings? Were they just crazy right in all positive, or were they a little nervous or hesitant that, he's got blood relatives, what does that mean for our relationship? How did they deal with that?
They were super excited.
Awesome.
I talked with them, obviously, because I didn't want any tension between us. Wanted to get their feelings about it all. And they couldn't have been more supportive. They're like, oh, you got to talk to him. You got to meet him. Hopefully we can all meet him.
That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that, because I feel like I was talking about, I feel like that's a difficult transition for a lot of families. If you've come up and you're really tight siblings and all you've ever known, and then I can imagine a lot of people out there probably do feel threatened if they find out there's some other person out there that's blood related, and are they going to come in and disrupt our family? I would imagine that happens more often than we think, and I'm hoping by showing this and putting this out there that those people can somehow work to correct that and fix those relationships, because I think it's important to have it be a positive thing. I don't think anybody that's searching for adoptive relatives or their parents is setting out with the intention of disrupting the family that they find. I don't think anybody has that goal. Do you?
I would hope not.
Yeah. What are we saying about you as a person if your goal is I'm going to find my parents and I'm going to screw them all up for getting rid of me kind of a thing? I mean, I just can't imagine that that's a thing. So let's talk about why. You said you were pretty young when you found out. At what point did you kind of want to have that conversation with your mom and dad that I kind of want to find out who my biological parents are? Was that early on too, or was that a little bit later?
That was quite a bit later, actually, because I never thought too much about it
Hmm.
until I had my daughter. And then I started thinking, I need some medical history because I have nothing on myself.
Right.
So that was my main reason for even starting a search, was just to get her history, something, if anything I could find that might, provide a little relief for her in the future.
Absolutely. So no real goal of, okay, I need to know mom and dad, or I need to know if there's anybody else out there. It was strictly, I have a daughter now. I'm a dad. I'm concerned about what that means for her, kind of a thing. So that was the goal.
That was the whole goal.
And I mean, I think any parent out there understands, and every time we talk, I still am just amazed at the similarities in our lives, because, very much we were both married. We both have a divorce. We both have a daughter. The similarities are just unreal, but I can totally feel for that, because when we first had Emily, we were going through that same thing about, the doctors consistently, what's the medical history on your side? What's the medical history on your side? And what's it mean for, your daughter? And yeah, I mean, we joked all the time about, why did we bring Emily into the world? Because we had so much on each side. It's like, what did we do to this poor child? So I can't even imagine or grasp what you must have been going through, because we knew. We're like, oh, I've got this, 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 and this, and you've got this, this, this. I can't even imagine what it must have been like going, I don't know what I have, so I don't know what you have. That's got to be just, I mean, that'd be terrifying, right? The fear of not knowing, and now you've brought this person into the world. I mean, that's terrifying, right?
The fear of the unknown, right? Gets everybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, so how did you and your ex-wife, like, did you guys talk about that? I mean, obviously she knew you were adopted, right? So like, did you guys have that conversation prior to deciding to have a child? Like, I don't know anything about my history. I don't know how did that play into the decision of even having a child?
It didn't play into anything about having a child.
Okay.
But after it came up, and then there was a couple little circumstances during the pregnancy that kind of pushed me to, I need to find out some information.
Well, and yeah, I mean, again, I can't even imagine. That's so terrifying to even, and then if it was problematic, like you said a couple of times, then I for sure would have been in a panic and needed to know. And I mean, for all of our listeners out there that are regular listeners of this podcast or my other podcast and know me pretty well, you guys know my history, especially early on in the episodes of this one. I dove deep into losing my dad from a heart attack, losing my little brother from a heart attack. We've lost grandpas and uncles from heart attacks. And so, welcome, Terry.
Yeah.
So
great news, I found out.
Yeah. So I bet you were just thrilled when you started to find that medical history. So I guess that kind of leads into my next thing. So when you were doing the search, did you know? Let's talk about how it even started. What's the process? Do you like go to the state and say, I'm searching for my relatives or my biological parents? And I mean, what's that whole process? How do you even begin to do that?
I started down at the state adoption agency.
Okay.
And there's a form that I filled out, and it gives you options, request, medical history, any identifying things that might come up, whether you're open to that or not. Mm-hmm. So I could have left that unchecked and never found you or Amy,
okay,
or anybody, and just got the medical history. But I checked it, and then it came back a few weeks later, and it gave me that little brief synopsis, and it said, oh, by the way, you have a sister who is also registered and would be open to talking and meeting if you still are.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, because I've always wondered who contacted who first. So, and we should put out there, we haven't even just we're briefly hinting at it, but we haven't actually said. So we have a sister also. We had an undiscovered sibling who was a sister, which, yeah, we were like, wait, what? So, so her name is Amy, and I'm hoping that at some point we can have a follow-up episode and we can have Amy join us and talk about the conversation too, because it's really interesting on her side of how everything went down also. Even a little bit turbulent on the way things went down for her. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But So I'm assuming she got the same information that she has somebody that's also looking, and did she reach out to you first, or did you reach out to her first?
I reached out to her,
Okay.
but at the same time, she was about to reach out to me. So it was we got the information pretty simultaneously.
And so when you guys talked, did she say that she had been searching for quite a bit longer than you, or had she also just started it, or how was that?
No, she'd been searching for quite a while longer than I have.
Okay.
And had a lot more information than me.
Well, so now, see, this is where it's going to start. Oh boy, buckle up, everybody listening, because this is where it starts to get all kinds of crazy. So I'm wondering, and this is definitely something that maybe you and I should ask Amy at some point down the line. But I'm wondering, when she reached out to my family and got the response that she got, if she was hesitant or second guessing whether she should reach out to you. I'm wondering if that was even a thought, or if she was just like, oh, well, that was that, but now I'm going to go gung-ho into. Did she ever discuss that with you about how it was and whether she thought about not reaching out to you?
She told me that she had tried to, well, first she dropped the bombshell that, oh, by the way, we have other siblings too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really? And then she told me how her experience went. But I think through the adoption registry, since we both checked and made it mutual that we would like to meet, I think she was probably more open to giving me a call without too much of a worry, knowing that I was open to it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, so. Whew. All right, so let's just dive into that. It was not a good experience for Amy when she reached out to my mom. I guess that she had, from my understanding of it all, she had hired a private investigator. She was trying to find us. She was trying to hunt us down. And for me, I kind of prefaced that I'm a very private person, and her and I were joking. She couldn't find anything on me, and I'm like, fantastic. So my keeping my privacy is really good. I had no clue. I was never reached out to. They apparently couldn't find anything on me to try to contact me. From what I understand, she reached out to my aunts first and was able to locate them, and then tried to establish contact with mom. And they alerted my sister. For anybody out there that's new to this and doesn't know, I have a twin sister and I had a little brother. So you also have another sister and brother. And as you said, and so that didn't go well. I guess my sister contacted her and said, no, don't ever call here again. You're not family. You have nothing to do with us. Don't even attempt to try. And pretty much shut it down, and not in a very friendly way. And then I guess she was taken aback a bit, but not deterred. And she continued to try to find mom. And unfortunately, when it did kind of all go down and she was able to find mom, the way that the private investigator was able to finally find mom was through the announcement of my little brother Joe's death. And from what I understand, and I was not in a very good place at this time mentally. I was dealing with the death very badly, and just, I was not all there. But from what I understand, he attempted to reach out on the day of the funeral. Did not go well. As you can imagine, that was not the time to approach. And that conversation came up at the funeral, and I thought I overheard it. I wasn't sure what I heard, but I put it back there in the back of my head, and I'm like, I can't deal with this. If what I think I just heard is true, I can't deal with this right now because I've got all this going on, and it's just not something I can process, and I don't even know if what I heard is actually what I think I heard. So I just kind of put it back there and forgot all about it. And that day happened, and it was awful, and everything that came with it. But it was several years later that it came up again. Amy tried to reach out to my mom after the invention of Facebook, because social media, and she tried to friend request mom, and so at that point I was already divorced, and my mom was with me helping with Emily. And so she came into my office and showed me this friend request and showed me this picture. And then it all just came flying back. It all just came rushing into my head because I saw the picture, and Amy, I mean, I can't think of any other way to say it. She was the spinning image of my mom from 30 years prior. I would have swore I was looking at a picture of my mom, and I was like, okay. And Mom just held strong to the fact that I don't know who this is. I don't know why they're trying to friend request me, and I'm just gonna. And out to this day, I don't know if that was a flat out lie and she knew exactly who it was and she wanted to gauge how I felt or didn't feel. I don't know. That's my guess, but I mean, you can't look at the picture and not know. You just can't. And so I said, well, I think I know who it is. And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. So I reached out to Amy, and I'm guessing this is maybe before you guys made contact. I reached out to Amy and I said, I think I have a pretty good idea of who you are, and I will talk to you. From what I understand, you've been shut down and nobody will talk to you, but I will. So if you want to talk to me, I will talk to you. And so she did. She reached out. We called each other and we dove right in. I'm like, what do you want to know? I'll tell you everything you want to know that I know, and I want to know everything about you. And I found out I had a nephew. I found out everything about her life and all the stuff. And much like we're having this conversation right now, I was like, what made you want to decide to find Mom and Dad? Like, why did you, and we had that conversation, and it was amazing. And so I was excited. I told my daughter, I told people, and I went to tell, so let's really kind of get into this. I went to tell my mom and my sister, and I was shut down. I was like, how dare I talk to her? How dare I want to talk to her? Why would I do that? She's not a part of the family. And they literally cut me off. I'm not even joking. And I'm not trying to portray them in a bad light, because I don't know what they felt and why they were feeling the way they felt, but they literally cut me off and didn't talk to me for months. And it was like they were that angry that I decided to make contact. But for me, and I mean, and we can talk about this more too. For me, when I found out, especially after losing my little brother, that I had more siblings, that I had more family, I was like, how could I possibly not want to meet them and have them, after suffering such a loss, to be able to, you can't ever fill that void, but to have somebody come in and know that you have more family, I was like, how can you not want to do that? And so, and then, and I'm guessing this was kind of like, because you were talking about a little earlier about when you found out, but she contacted me one day and asked me if I was sitting down, and I was like, I am not. What's going on? What's up? And she's like, well, you might want to sit down. And I initially thought, is there something wrong? Is Matthew okay? Are you okay? And she's like, no, everything's fine, but you might want to sit down. So apparently we have a brother. And I was like, what? The shock was like, I have a brother also? Like, this is just mind blowing to me. And that's our initial, that's how it kind of went down. And, thankfully, when we spoke, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I don't know what your initial reaction was, but me and Joe were very, very, very close. We had a very tight bond. And so I was kind of all over the map on my emotions, because at first I was like, how can I have another brother? It's never going to be the same as what it was with Joe. It's never going to be this. It's never going to be that. And then I'm like, well, how do I know it's not going to be that? Is he older than me? Is he younger than me? Is that it? Like, what is that dynamic going to be? And so I was just like this, trying to figure out, a sister, obviously that was a whole different dynamic too. I have a twin sister, and this is not a twin, and it's never going to be this. How is that going to be? And that was amazing. So I have initially got over my fears, and I'm like, okay, well, that worked out really well, and Amy's awesome, and Matthew's awesome. So the brother's got to be awesome too. Let me let me just go with it and go. Were you intrepid about like when you first found out, like, okay, brother and sister? Like, I mean, what was the initial thought? I know you said kind of excitement, but then what was the initial thought when you found out? Like,
Nervous at first,
yeah,
little scared to reach out because, okay, what am I going to find? What are they going to be like?
yeah,
But after talking with Amy, and we hit it right off on the phone, went out to lunch, had a great time.
yeah,
And then she told me about you, and I was like, well, I had such a good time meeting her. You got to meet him.
yeah, yeah.
So I was like, it can't be bad because she's talked to him and she hasn't said anything but nice things. So that's definitely reaching out to him.
Well, so that's a good thing then, because and same thing. She had said good things about you, so that definitely was kind of like a, hey, this is not going to be a bad situation. We all kind of agree that we want to know each other. So I'm so glad that she was able to do that, to establish those connections, because I don't know what it would have been like if she hadn't done that. I don't know. I'd have been terrified still. But
Yeah, and any worries that I had, were pretty much put to bed because she had already made the contacts.
yeah.
Really. So, it helped tremendously.
So let me say this. It's the same thing. I felt the same way. She talked highly and it's like, oh no, it's great and he's great and everything is, and I was like, okay, I'm all in. I want to do this. And then we spoke and it seemed like it was awesome and everything was going to be, and then you sent the information and man, I've never seen any packet put so well together in my life, that the way you had it all laid out and everything. And when I initially got it, and keep in mind, this is now after I had met Amy and Matthew, and we had gone and had lunch and met in person and everything. And so I had set myself up to believe that, much like Amy, you were a half sibling, that you had a different father, and I was all in on that. And so when I opened your packet and saw the pictures, I can't even have words to describe what went through me, because the second that I saw you, I immediately ran to my daughter. I immediately called up my ex-brother-in-law, and I'm like, you've got to see these pictures. There's no way he's a half sibling. There's just no way. He looks exactly like us. And they agreed. They were like, looked at it and went, holy shit, like this is crazy. And so a whole new fear came in, and then a whole new like dynamic of, well, why? Like, so how did that happen? How are we the same mom and dad, and Amy is a different dad, and then she's back with dad, and like it was so just like, now I have to wrap my brain around what the hell happened. Why is this the way it is? Were you that way when you pretty much? I'm guessing when you saw me, you were pretty much the same way. Like, oh, wait a minute, this is a bit different than Amy. Like, I mean, what did you think?
Yep, and Amy had said the same thing too. We are half siblings, but we're almost positive he's a full sibling. And I saw the pictures too and showed them to my family, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that you guys are definitely full siblings."
Yeah.
And the same thought crossed through my mind. Well, I was like, "Well, how did that all happen?" Okay, had me, had Amy with something else, and then had 3 more kids with the same person again.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Yeah. And then so like, I mean, it was the 60s. I mean, and I don't mean to make lighthearted of it, because I don't know. And sadly, because of the way my family has reacted to us meeting and all of the kind of stuff, and then because of some potential medical issues with mom, I mean, I'm not sure we're ever going to get those answers. I'm not sure we'll ever know why she was with dad and then not with dad and then back with dad, and why the adoptions happened. Why did she give you guys up? I'm not sure we're ever going to find that out. And that's kind of disheartening to me, because I would just like to know. I have no judgment. I have no preset. What were you doing? What were you thinking? Why was all this going on? I have none of that. I just want to know? Was it a bad breakup? Did was Amy's dad a rebound type thing? I mean, I am so curious as to what the reasons were behind that.
And as far as the information I have goes, your father didn't know about me or Amy either. So, and obviously we can't get answers from him because
Right.
of he's passed away. But it makes you wonder too. Did
Yeah.
he know? Did he know? Is it or not know?
No, man, I just, that's going to be something that I'm sure eats at us all the time. Yeah, did he know she was pregnant? Was he okay with the adoption? Did he want you? Did he hey, let's try to get back together? I want this baby. Or was it just he had no clue? She just disappeared and for 9 months and then had the baby, or kind of it's so, and
you don't know what his reaction would have been if he did find out.
yeah, yeah.
Would,
And
would he have wanted to keep the children, or now if he were still alive, would he have wanted to meet us? We'd never know.
and that's such an incredible point to bring up, because I wish I had relevant information for you to help you figure that part out. But he passed, and you would have been still very young. When he passed, I was just 8 years old. So we would have still been very young. And so I have just a very brief memory of Dad. And so I can't draw a conclusion as to a yes or no of whether he would, if he were still here with us today, want to meet you, whether he would want to know you, and because I don't even know what his reaction would be to Amy. I don't know if that would be it's some sort of anger issue, like how dare you, you broke up with me and you had Amy, and I don't even know. I don't know what I would think in that situation. So I for sure don't know what he would think.
That could have been a whole new family dynamic.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, but and then if he did know about you, and when they did get back together, see, this is why I think that he, in all likelihood, like you said, probably had no clue about you, because when they did get back together and clearly had me and my sister and my little brother, I honestly feel like if he had known about you and he knew it was his child, he would have been like, well, hey, I have another son. What are we doing? Why don't we try to make contact? Why don't we try to, kind of, I honestly believe if he had known about you and they had gotten back together and married and everything was fine with them, why wouldn't have they tried to? You know what I mean? So I honestly think that he probably had no clue about you. And that's even more so. I'm so why? Why did you do that?
Yep. That just opens up more questions. Why?
Yeah, yeah. So you got pregnant and you broke up and you didn't even tell him. What was the reason why you felt like you had to hide it from him? And then do we even dive into the whole, if you broke up and you felt like you had to hide it, why keep you? Why wasn't abortion ever an issue? Why was that even a thought? Was it because it's a thing. You decide to carry the baby to full term and give them up for adoption. That is a process. You become bonded whether you want to or not. You are carrying that living being. And so to do that twice and go through that, what was the reasoning behind that? And I mean, you've got to be as curious as I am to ask her, why would you decide to carry full term and then give them up? And what was the, I don't even know. I can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah. And to do it twice.
Exactly. To do it twice and then go back to the person that you had done it with the first time. And just, that's something I hope maybe one day we'll have an answer to, but I just don't know if we ever will. And, it's, man. So when you were finding out about all of this, because at the time that you guys did find out, he had long been passed, were you aware did you find out immediately that Dad had passed?
Through Amy, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't on the initial one. Everything for the father was blank on my initial paperwork that I received. That's why I assumed that, okay, he probably doesn't even know.
Yeah, no, now see, that makes total sense. And then again, we go back into why would she leave the name off? Why would she not put who the father was? Clearly did not want him to know, because I mean, even if you put him up for adoption at some point, maybe down the line, dad wants to try to find you. And if he's never listed as a dad, he has no clue. And so, I mean, there had to be a reason behind that. And I just don't even know. So when we talking about that, then I would guess that you initially, until you started talking to me or talking to Amy, felt kind of defeated, because knowing that he had passed, you're still not getting the info that you need, medical history, like, because you wouldn't have any medical and he died young. So it was not something that's long-term established or any kind of a thing. It was just, it happened, it came out, boom, and he passed. So talk about that a little bit. Were you frustrated that you still couldn't get the medical history that you were trying to find out?
I was. The first letter that I received back had really nothing on it. Just very, very basic information. Nationality, mother's height, mother's age, and hay fever, I think, was about the only thing listed.
Hay fever. Okay. Wow.
I was like, all right, well, this doesn't do me any good.
Yeah.
And then I met Amy, and she gave me her history. So at least, okay, there's a little bit there. And then when we talked, you told me about family history. So I was like, okay, at least I got something.
Right.
So it was frustrating at first, because I was like, well, so much for that idea.
Yeah. I mean, so you like, I can't even imagine, like, oh, I'm trying to do this big old huge thing and I'm getting absolutely nothing. And then, so how old was mom? I don't even know that. How old did it list her when she had you?
It listed her as 21 for me.
21. Okay. So, and you're the oldest. So okay. But yeah, cause she was 25 when she had me. So, and Kelly. So there's that little, like, couple years kind of a thing. So in between all of us, which, wow. So I guess my next question is then, when we started like talking and I started to tell you what kind of panic came into you then? Like, what? Wait a minute. He died from what? And Joe died from what? I mean, there had to be an initial terror go through you, right? Like,
initial reaction was like, because I have, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, I'm thinking, okay, so I got it. That means my kid's going to have that stuff too.
Right.
It's going to be passed down to her. So that's going to be something we're going to have to watch out for here in the future. It was scary to know, but it was also good to know. So, now I can, hopefully do things that maybe will prevent that for her.
Well, and I cannot be more happy. Like, I can't even imagine what my thought process would be had I not found you, had you not found me at this time, and then you were to tragically pass from a heart attack, or Jamie were to, and that could have been prevented had you known. And if I had found out after the fact I had a brother and he had no idea, and this happened because he didn't have any idea, and I can't even begin to imagine what would be in my mind, like, because I carry the guilt for my brother's death still to this day. And it had nothing to do with the medical part of it. It had to be with not being there. But so that type of like, oh my gosh, he passed because he had no idea he had heart issues, or had no idea that this was a thing in his family. I can't even imagine. I would be just devastated to know that. So I'm so glad that we were able to make contact and that you are able to be on it, because And the same thing with Emily. And thank God for Jamie is they are aware of it. They can be on medication if need be. They can control it so that it isn't going to get them at 19 like Joe or 32 like Dad. I mean, that's terrifying. And so the idea that everybody is aware, everybody knows to get it checked. If you get I don't know about you, but I get a little twinge, I go. I'm like, bam, what's going on? Why is that? And even if I know I pull the cramp, pull the muscle, I still go. I'm like, I'm terrified of it. So I don't know about you, but pay attention.
Yeah, one of the bonuses of finding each other is to get that information. That's
it's just so incredibly valuable. I mean, man. So, okay, I want to talk about. We've briefly touched about my family and your family. You've been saying throughout the interview that they were very supportive and very positive. And so there was never any, like when you said, okay, so I went and I filled out the form and I checked the box for medical, but I also checked the form of if there's anything out there else I want to know. Did you have a conversation with them prior to and say that you were going to make that decision? Or was it something that you let them in afterwards? And were you even second guessing it all the way up until you checked it? I mean,
So, nope, I had a very open conversation with them, and I wanted to make sure I had that conversation before I did anything to make sure that they knew I wasn't looking to replace you. I am not unhappy with my life. Everything is great. You know, the only reason I'm doing this is for my daughter, really.
yeah.
But there is an option that I could possibly have other siblings out there. I could find out who the mother is, and she could, live next door. We never know. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, find out everything that you can." They were very encouraging, and they said, "If we find siblings, if we find your parents and stuff, we'll see what happens with that when the time comes. But whatever information you can get, it's going to be better for you. It's going to be better for your daughter."
That is amazing. That's so incredible, and I'm so happy that that was the situation. And it's funny that you said, "Hey, if we find them, they could be living next door. They couldn't," because apparently for quite some time we were living in the same city and not too far from each other. We could have possibly even been in school together and not even known it, which I can't even fathom how we didn't know. Like, that's just crazy to me. And then in Amy's situation, when my mom moved to North Carolina, they literally were within blocks of each other and had no idea that they were literally living right around the corner from each other. When my mom moved to Carolina, she had no clue that that's where Amy was. So when you find things out like that, it's like, that is so crazy to think that we were like right there, the good portion of our young lives, and we didn't even know. It's just, It's crazy to me. Like, how did we not cross paths at some point? Because we are so close in age. I don't understand how we never crossed paths. It's just...
We could have been playing t-ball against each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and then double taking each other. Like, wait a minute, what's that kid looks just like me? What's going on here? I can't even. I don't know, and I don't know if so. Because I want to kind of go into this aspect of it too, because of the response from my family and how they have been towards you guys and how they've been towards me and Emily for being open and having the relationship with you guys. I don't know if Amy shared this with you, and hopefully she doesn't get mad at me for sharing, but if she hasn't, but she, and I don't even know how she mustered up the courage to do it, honestly, but when they were still both here in North Carolina, she made the decision, and she just one day walked into where mom was working and confronted her and said, "Hey, I know that you don't want to talk to me. I know you don't want to have anything to do with me, but I would just really like to have a conversation with you and tell you how I feel and what I have to say. Can we have lunch? Can we make this happen?" And apparently was told yes. Apparently my mom said, "Yes, we can do that. I would like that." And then never showed up. And I can't imagine how heartbreaking that was for her to have to say, "Oh, she's agreeing. Well, I'm finally going to get this. I'm finally going to get some closure," and then have her not show up. And I can honestly say that I don't believe Amy has attempted ever again after that to try to make any contact with my sister or mom since then. I don't think that's happened. And my thought process is on this, because mom and Kelly are extremely close, and I just have to think that she told her what happened, and my sister was like, "Don't do it, don't go, don't," and that's how that went down. Because I wholeheartedly believe in my heart that mom was sincere in saying that she would, and then just for whatever reason did not, and that's all speculation on my part, but I can't imagine. Did she share that with you? Did you know that happened?
No.
Yeah. So like,
and I wonder if the was this before Joe died?
No, this was well after. Yeah, well after Joe died.
So,
yeah.
So I wonder if that situation played into her rethinking too. Yeah. Maybe that anger came back and said, "Wait a minute, this is the same person that tried to contact me during the funeral."
Yeah, well, and I that's why I think wholeheartedly that was the trigger for my sister, and probably why she told my mom not to do it. My sister, I think, is still angry at the fact that it went down on the funeral day. I think she still holds that and does not
which
let.
which in Amy's defense was not her
It
fault
was not.
or choosing.
Yeah, yeah, and from what I understand, was irate at the private investigator and was like, in what mind would you even think that that was a good idea, kind of a thing. And after talking to Amy about it, you could just tell Amy would never do that. That's just not who she is. I mean, so yeah, in her defense, it had, even more so. But I think it's important to say this too, because I do think my sister, I mean, we were twins, obviously, and we were inseparable. We were like, our bond was just, I can't even begin to describe what it's like to have a twin and to grow up together and have that. And even more so after Dad died, we literally buried Dad, and I'm not even sure if you know this, but we literally buried Dad on Joe's first birthday. He was born and he was on his 1 year birthday is when we buried Dad. So he knew nothing, had no memory whatsoever of Dad at all. And me and Kelly basically, okay, here's a single mom, and now you're being basically told if you continue your nursing career, you're not getting any of the Social Security because you make too much money. And if you decide to take the Social Security, you're going to have to walk away from your career that you've done this whole time. And then there was the aspect of the family saying, we don't think you should have the kids. We don't think you're for whatever reason, they just didn't think she was responsible on her own to be able to do it or whatever. I've never even dove into the drama of all that, but there was a fight and she felt like she had to flee New York to get away from that and be able to keep her kids. And we did. We left to go to Florida. But where I'm trying to go with this is that me and my sister were basically like, okay, well, now we're going to have to help raise this baby. He's 1 year old and she's working and like, here we are. And so the three of us developed this like insanely tight bond. And I refer to it all the time that I feel like for me, Joe was my little brother, my best friend, and my son all in one. And it was devastating when he passed. I mean, I still am not past it. I cry every time, I'm starting to cry now. I cannot talk about him without crying. And that death changed them. It changed all of us. And I wish that you guys had been able to talk to Mom and talk to Kelly, the Kelly and Mom that I know, the Kelly and Mom that I grew up with, the my twin that I love desperately, and my mother that I loved. I wish that you had met those people and not the people that they are after Joe's death, because they're not the same. They're just not the same. And I wholeheartedly believe that, and I don't know if this is good for you or bad for you or if you want to hear this or not, but I wholeheartedly believe that if you had made contact earlier and Joe was still alive, it would be a different situation. It would be a different situation. I think that Mom would be talking to you guys and there would be a relationship there. I wholeheartedly believe that because I know that Joe, like me, would have been all over it. Like, what do you mean we have a brother and a sister? What do we mean I have a niece and a nephew? I want to know these people and what we've got to do this. And I just truly in my heart believe it would have been a different situation. And I wish you guys could know those people.
Do you think, I have never tried to reach out to your mom because of, what you've said, what Amy said. And I was, there's no sense of me trying to do it. Do you think the situation would be different if I tried to reach out to her rather than Amy? Being we're different circumstances too?
Different circumstances? The fact that, I mean, I there's no way Mom doesn't know that you're a full sibling. I mean, that knowledge alone, right? Mom, 25 years ago, without doubt. Like, just, I think that I can't give you an answer on it right now. I don't know her reaction. I think if it were her and I, and there was no Kelly, maybe, but there is a Kelly, and I think that I don't know. I don't have an answer. I wish I had an answer for you. I wish I could tell you to just, yes, run on over here and do it. I don't know. I desperately want that. I desperately want all of us to have a relationship. Like I hinted at earlier, when they found out, and didn't talk to me for months, my relationship with my twin is strained and has been strained for years, and it's not in a good place. We're civil, but we're not who we were. We're not the people that were bonded together and inseparable as kids, and that breaks my heart every single day. I want my twin back. I want my sister back, and I want the mom that was fun and crazy, and no matter what the situation was in life, we it was all about us and about living and having and they're not there anymore, and it breaks my heart every day. And I don't know. I wish you guys, and oh my God, I wish you had met Joe. I wish you had met Joe. I have no doubt in my mind that you would feel the same way about Joe that I feel about Joe, and that everybody felt about Joe. He was just like the most incredible human being and the most zest for life, and wanted to do nothing but make everybody's life happy, and never without a smile on his face. Literally my hero. He's the youngest out of all of us, but he was my hero. He was everything to me. And I know you would have felt the same way. I know the three of us going to a Cowboys game or a Yankees game or watching it, calling each other up and screaming at the TV, and he would have been right there. And even more so, why I believe that if he was still here, it would be that way. And you would have been talking to mom, and we would have been, I just truly believe that would be true. And I wish you had met him. I just so wish you would met him. You guys, and he would have adored Jamie. He would have adored Matthew. All he talked about young on is he couldn't wait to be an uncle. He loved kids, and he could not wait for that to happen and then be a dad. It was like everything to him. So I can't even imagine the relationship that he would have with Jamie and Matthew, and what that would have been like. It would have just, to be robbed from that is just, I deal with that every day, and it's just heartbreaking.
It's nice to think about it, but it's sad at the same time that, what if?
Yeah. I don't know. And I just,
and with your mom, I can respect her decision not to want to talk to me or Amy. That's perfectly fine. And if I ever did meet her, my main goal would be just to give a little closure to her, I guess you would say. I just want to let her know, hey, you made the right choice. I turned out good. I have a good life. Who knows what it would have been otherwise. But just to let her know, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Don't ever regret your decision, because it worked out very well.
Okay, so and this might be hard, this might be difficult, but I want you to kind of do this, because this platform gives you the opportunity. It gives you the opportunity, and if the universe is willing and the greater spirits are on board and allow it, then maybe for whatever reason they watch this, say it. Tell them. What would you say as if they were in person right now in front of you? Say what you want to say. Say what you want to say to them.
I would just say, I don't know if you ever, think about me when my birthday comes around, or you ever wonder whatever happened with me, how I turned out. Well, here I am. I turned out very well. I think I've been part of a loving family, caring family. I've had a very good life. I have a great daughter. I have no regrets really about anything. And I just want to say thank you for what you did. Who knows what my life would have been otherwise, but it's turned out very well, and I appreciate it.
It just, I'm literally tearing up. I mean, like, I hope with all sincerity that they see this, and we can move past, and you can get that closure if need be, and they can get that closure if need be, or it's not closure and it's the beginning. It's a start of something. I hope whatever it needs to be, I hope that they can see this and hear this and know. And I know Amy would say the same thing. I know Amy would it's the same thing. There's no anger. There's no resentment. It's all just, we're okay. We're all right. And we're not mad at you. And like you said, you respect their decision if they don't want to talk to you, but you just want them to know that everything is okay. And I just...
If they ever had that curiosity, well, we can alleviate that curiosity.
Yes. Yeah.
Here's the answer.
And I want to believe in my heart of hearts that the answer is yes for you, that she does think about you, on your birthday, that she does. I want to believe that that's true. I believe that that's true. And for whatever reason, I wish you and Amy both could get the why. Why did I do it? What was the reasoning behind it? And because for me, I would need to know that it wasn't just a reckless decision, that there was a reason behind it. And I don't know if you guys need to know that. I don't know if you want to know that, but I would. And I just hope for one day, whether it's through her, whether it's through me, maybe she finally tells me and I'm able to tell you, I don't know. But first, one day I hope that you guys can get that. I truly do.
So it would be nice, but again, I respect her decisions. If she, the whole point of doing this wasn't to cause anybody more tension, more stress, anxiety, whatever. That's not the whole point of doing this.
And yet, and I feel bad because you have been put into situations like that with no fault to you. And the situation I'm talking about, and because I want to bring this up because we talked about at the beginning of the show in the intro about how it doesn't just affect the siblings, right? That we meet each other and what's going on with us, but how it affects our kids and Emily's about to get married. And you guys have a great relationship, and her and Jamie have a great relationship. And so it wasn't even a thought. It was a no-brainer. You're being invited to the wedding. And then immediately it was on your part, and to no fault of your own, you're anguished, you're stressed, you're like, do I even go? Do we make the decision? Because what is that going to do if I show up? That's not fair. That's an unfair mental burden on you to have to deal with that, and for Jamie to have to deal with that. You shouldn't have any second thoughts about showing up at a wedding for your niece. I mean, like, talk about that. I mean, like, are you still, because I know you very kindly reached out to me and asked if I thought you should come, and I want everybody to know my immediate answer was, of course you should come. Don't not come. It would be worse if you don't come. But are you still worried about what that's going to do?
I'm still worried about it because this is Emily and Logan's day. And the last thing I want to do is take anything away from it, not make it a perfect day for them. And if I show up and people start whispering or talking and we're there and things start getting around and it causes tension, even hidden tension, still going to be tension on a day that there should be no tension at all, nothing but love.
Yeah.
So I'm still nervous. Obviously we want to be there. We love Emily, we love Logan, and we're thrilled to get the invite and can't wait to go. But we're also, should we just kind of stay towards the corner? Should we just go to the wedding ceremony, not the reception? Should we, how do we want to handle this where it doesn't cause any grief for anybody?
And see, I like, because my thought process on that is also, I'm dealing with all of those same thoughts, all of those same things. How do we approach this? And that shouldn't even be something we have to think about. It's unfair that we have to think about that. But also, I think about the reverse of that. If you guys come and you sit in the back and you're just there and so we're trying so hard to avoid tension or anybody whispering or anybody talking that we just don't even act like you're there, that anguish, I mean, what does that do to you guys? I don't want you to come and feel like we're not even going to talk to you because we don't want to cause tension. We don't want to cause a problem. That's ridiculous. I want to run up to you. I want to have a good time with you. I want to have a great time with Jamie. I want all of us. I want you to dance with Emily. I want you to do all these things. And the last thing I want is say, so we really want you there, but can you sit in the corner and not cause any problems? The idea that you would even ponder doing that is heartbreaking to me. I don't want you to feel like if you come, that's what you have to do. I'm telling you right now, I don't want you to do that. I want you to be there as my brother. I want you to be there as my niece. I want you to be there as Emily's uncle. And I want you to have the time of your life because I know that's what they want. And so I can't imagine. And I'm so sorry that you are still having those thoughts because it's not right. It's not right that you should even have to think that.
So it's a hard decision because, like I said, that's what we want to do. That's what we think would be great. But at the same time, we don't want Emily and Logan's day to be affected in any kind of way.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If you don't show up, it would be. They've said that numerous times to me, that if you guys don't come, they would be heartbroken and that would affect it. And so you're coming. And I'm really looking forward to it. I really am. This has been great. And I think my goal is for this whole thing is it's terrifying to put yourself out there. I don't know how you are. I know you're very close with your family and tell everything to your family. I'm curious, what did they think about when you said, "Oh, I got an invite to the wedding"? Did they think that was a good idea or not a good idea?
No, they were excited.
Good.
They're like, "Oh, you got to go. It's too great."
Yeah.
Well, and then I did mention what I was thinking, and they're like, "Oh, well, if everybody respects Emily and Logan, there won't be tension. If everybody knows that it's their day, they won't do things to ruin it."
That's exactly right. That's exactly, everybody at that place on that day and that moment has to respect the fact that it's their time, not anybody else's. And if you truly love them, you will do that. And I'm all in on what your family said. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Whatever you have inside of you, whatever you're thinking, whatever you need to set that aside and say, I love them and this is their day and I'm not going to let that happen. And so fingers crossed.
Hopefully everybody else thinks the same way.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, that just made me think back how you said your family was excited and hope that they can meet us. Yes, I'm all in. I mean, I want us to get together so bad and have this like giant family reunion and just have this huge where we can all finally meet and just have a great time. And then I want it to be a thing. I want it to be like an annual thing. I don't have a lot of family. Sadly, there's been a lot of death and there's just not many of us left. And the idea that we have family out there that we're not continuously hanging out with on a regular basis just eats me. I want to be able to do it all the time as much as we can. So I want to make that happen. I hope that we can make that happen.
Yeah, I agree. I hope so too.
So listen, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I think there are so many people out there like yourself and like Amy that are struggling with the decision. Should I reach out? Should I try to find my biological parents? How is my family going to react? If it does react badly, how do I get through that? How do I deal with that? And I'm hoping by sharing our stories, the good and the bad, that they can see that regardless of if it's a really good situation like yours or a really bad situation like mine, you can get through it and have that relationship if that's what you want. And I'm hoping that this episode will do that for all the people out there that are wondering if they should or should not take that chance. Because,
at least they have the information that they can make, an educated decision with now.
Exactly.
They see it from both sides and maybe prepare themselves for could be good, could be bad, could be like us, a little of both.
Exactly. And no matter what, you decide, right? Like, I mean, I can't stress that enough. Whether it's good or bad, you decide what that relationship is going to be. I think that's so true with everything in life. Good and bad happen every day. It's how you react to it. What you decide to do with it is how your life goes. And I choose happy. I choose positive. I choose to look at the good. And regardless of whatever the situation may be, that's where I always go. And I'm so glad I did, because we have this now. And I can't imagine a day without knowing that you exist and having you in my life. And so it's a good thing. And I love you. And I love Jamie, and I can't wait to have you guys at the wedding, and I can't wait to come up there and meet the family, and I think it's just going to be amazing, man.
Yep, love you guys too, and I appreciate you having me on, and it was nice to talk.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you doing it, because prior to recording it, I know you were very nervous, and I always wondered in the back of my head if, like, is he like me? Is he just like out there? Is he very non-talkative, or is he vocal and talks all the time, or kind of a thing? And like, I mean, are you like a really talkative guy, or are you shy? Because you seemed very nervous about doing this.
I was very nervous. I am a pretty shy guy until I get to know people.
Yeah.
Then I'll be like you and it won't shut up.
Well,
but until I get to know you, you're gonna have to pry things from me.
All right. Well, to be fair, I want to, like I said at the very beginning of this thing, this is public. This is me public, right? I'm a very reserved person too. Until about 10 or 11 years old, I'd barely said a word. And then I just found my identity, the mouth, if you will, and just the non-stock, being public. For whatever reason, maybe that's when I decided that's what I wanted to do for a living. I was going to be a filmmaker. I was going to be out there. I had to be this person, but don't worry, because I'm that guy too. If I don't know you, I don't really talk to you. I'm kind of nervous around. People will never think I'm nervous, but I'm actually nervous all the time. I was terrified to do this episode. So it's like, there you are. And just to wrap it all up, because I think this is always fun, kind of trivia type things, because we do look so much alike. And for anybody out there, you'll see all the same favorite sports teams, all the same favorite subjects in school. Our lives are just ridiculously bonded and similar in so many ways. So what are the differences? What can't you do? I love to cook. I'm a great cook. Everybody thinks if I wasn't doing film, I should probably open a restaurant. It's a peaceful thing for me. I enjoy doing it. I was very athletic. I played all sports. Joe was he played all sports, was playing in college, was actually being looked at to be drafted to go pro. Dad went pro, was very athletic. I draw. I can sketch. I can paint. So I'm very artistic. I write. Obviously, I'm a filmmaker. I do. What do you think that you do that I don't do, or vice versa? Like,
well, athletics we have in common.
Okay.
I was always pretty good with that. Not collegiate level or anything like that, but I was always pretty good with it.
Yeah.
And in a wide variety.
Did you have a favorite? Was there a favorite that you liked to play?
The baseball.
Baseball. Okay, so there's mine is football. I played baseball and hockey and swam and did basketball, but I loved football. I was a wide out, and I'm short, but I can run routes, and I can burn some people still. So yeah. Okay, so baseball, that's good.
I played wide out too, just didn't like getting hit.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was the unfar part. Well, I'm a little bit shorter than you, so I was able to duck under a lot of those things. But I get that totally.
That's why I choose baseball.
Hey, I'm sure you could still put a hit on the catcher though, coming into home, right? Still had to make some contact every now and then.
Hate to cook. I'm a good microwave button pusher. That's the extent of my cooking.
All right, so when we all get together for dinner, I know who's not cooking. Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
That'll be up to you.
All right.
I can bake cookies and cakes.
Oh, well, I can't do that. That's my huge flaw. I can cook just the mess out of everything. I can't bake. My cookies and cakes are an absolute disaster. So you can handle dessert.
Okay. I can't draw for a lick.
All right.
Stick figures are, luckily if you can identify anything that I'm trying to make with it.
So that's really weird too, because I think I'm the only one that can. Emily can't, and like nobody in the family can do it. I don't know where that came from. No clue. I just really enjoy doing it, and I have no clue because nobody else can even come. I can't do that. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. You can't do that. Math. How are you at math?
math was my best subject and I love math.
Hate it. Absolutely the worst. I cheated my entire way through all of school in math. If it's not dealing with money, no part of it. Failed it miserably. I couldn't do it. If it's got a decimal point, I'm all in. But if it wasn't money, I'm just like, no way. So, and yet I have an accounting degree. Go figure that. It's like it was money, right? Like I got this, but everything else, just forget it, man. So that's funny.
So I got the math and you got the writing because I absolutely hated writing.
Well, that's awesome, though. So great. I mean, as much alike as we are, we have those differences, which is even more so very cool to find out about. And like now I'm really curious. We're going to have to get Emily and Jamie together and see what that is like. Or how are they like with the likabilities and stuff and what they dislike. That's so funny. Listen, man, thank you for taking the time to do this. I think that people are really going to enjoy hearing this. And like I said, I truly believe in my heart of hearts it's going to help a lot of people. And thank you for the courage to do it, because I know this isn't always an easy subject to talk about. And fingers crossed what happens if it is watched, because I don't know what type of reaction we're going to get. I think your family's going to love it. I hope they watch it and have a really great time. And I don't know about mine. It's
maybe someday.
So we'll see. You'll know. Trust me, I'll let you know. I'm hoping that it's a positive thing and not a negative thing, but even if it is a negative, even if they roast me for doing it, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad it's out there, and I can't wait to, like I said, maybe do a follow-up and have Amy join us. It'll be really fun, I think.
So that would be great. And, maybe someday, but at the very least, we got each other. We got Amy. So
that's right. Family, man. Family. You're family. I love you. It's never going to change. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. And tell Jamie I said hello and I love her. And tell the family I said hello. And please tell them to let me know what they think. Like, let them watch it, because I'm so curious as to what they think about this conversation. Because it's like I'm always like, we love feedback.
Will do.
All right, man. Take care, and I love you. Talk to you soon.
You too. Love you guys too.
All right. Bye-bye.